welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing, Arlene?
I'm gravy.
I haven't heard that saying in a long time.
I know. You know, it's because some socks came to mind that I got, like, it said, I'm gravy. And they were like around, I don't know why that came up, around Thanksgiving. They're like in the Target dollar bin section. And it was like, I'm gravy. And it had like gravy and they were all smiling.
I love that.
But yeah, gravy, just gravy.
That's cute. Okay, so today we're going to go into a very like heady subject. So
Get your thinking caps on.
Yes. And please have some grace for me because this is also new stuff that I have spent some time researching and watching a lot of videos and talking to Chris, who is my business partner and CFO for Surge Coffee. And CFO for our life together.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris. Her other brain.
Yes, right. So today, because we're not at January 20th yet, but it is right around the corner.
Ooh,
and
that's a day.
I'm not excited about it, but it's okay. We're here, we're embracing it, and we're going to do what we can.
Yeah.
And Trump and his administration are proposing tariffs. So
Buy avocados. Buy avocado toast.
Yeah, your avocado toast is going to get a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Because I guess we'll just dive right in. So
Give
tariffs,
it to me.
Yeah. So tariffs are taxes on imported goods that are meant to protect domestic industries. It's not always implemented that way. So tariffs can kind of be used as like a free-for-all. And essentially it's just another fee tacked on to goods that are coming in from other countries to the United States. Usually the people who pay those fees are the importers in the US. The Trump administration argues that the tariffs will actually be paid by the exporters, that they will absorb those costs themselves.
Which is not going to happen.
No.
I mean, they will, but they'll raise their prices.
Yeah, I mean, they'll absorb it,
Right.
but it really gets passed along to importers in the U.S., aka us consumers. Well, I should say, and also us consumers. Yeah, so they did this in 2018 during their first presidency. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but Biden actually kept some of those tariffs predominantly for China. I don't think they kept all of them. It was just mainly China's that they kept. So we're going to dive into it today. And I have a whole freaking outline thing.
Because you need to, because that's how much this topic is.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's so much. And the thing is, like, even though we're just going to be talking about tariffs in certain examples and things, it's kind of like a domino effect. And so it affects things down the stream. It affects things outside of the industries that these tariffs are being imposed upon. Right now, we don't know if the tariffs will be imposed on countries as a whole. So they're saying that they may be tariffs on countries like obviously China, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and India. And we're not sure if it's going to be tariffs on all of the goods coming out of those countries or if it will be tariffs on just specific industry specific goods. There's a couple of outlines there that they're saying, like, it might just be a few goods that specific goods that they're saying, predominantly like steel and aluminum. But who knows? Trump says a lot of things and then does a lot of things that he didn't say. So we don't know, but I think it's important for us to be educated and to know what's going to be going on. So they're proposing these universal tariffs on all imports, and specific tariffs targeting sectors like technology, energy, and consumer goods. So China specifically is notorious for having really cheap goods that come into the U.S.
All of our clothes.
Yeah, your Temu hauls.
Yeah. Shein.
Yeah, Shein, all of that stuff. And the reason that they say they're putting on these tariffs is to boost domestic production. So like a lot of the things that we consume are not actually made in the US. They're all like made elsewhere. Another goal of the tariffs is to protect American jobs and to reduce the trade deficit. And in what I have been reading and watching and stuff, some economists are saying like the trade deficit shouldn't even be a topic that we're discussing, because all it really means is that we are consuming more than we produce. And so
there's a whole Netflix show on that.
Oh, is there?
Or movie. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot the name of it, but I know that there's one. I started to watch it, and yeah, that was like one of the biggest things of that. It's like, it's just too much. We're consuming way too much stuff that like the producers have to keep up with it, but then it like we're done with it, and like they're always having to like, one of the examples they gave was like, I think Old Navy, like they used to only release a certain amount of like fashion items back in the day, and then now it's like they have to change their fashion trends like every 6 to 8 weeks, whereas before it was like a whole season.
That's crazy. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it is self-induced because, well, for one, probably because of marketing teams always wanting to increase the revenue, increase the bottom line, and increase profits for their shareholders. That's just the reality that we live in.
We digressed. Anyways, go back on.
Yeah. So the economic implications of this is like, if there's like a 10%, 20%, whatever it is, tariff imposed, then essentially it becomes a tax on us consumers. Because even though the argument is that the exporters in these outside countries will absorb the cost, because they're saying that they'll absorb the cost because the US consumes so much that those exporters will want to maintain their market share. So they'll want to keep making the same amount of money, is what they're arguing. And in 2018, that was not the case. So we already have proof that they don't absorb the cost. They simply pass it along. And when I was looking at some research, they were saying that it ended up costing like households an additional like $1,000 to $2,000 for the year. Yeah, on simple goods that you consume regularly.
That our groceries are supposed to be cheaper. The apple, the infamous apple that Trump talks about. The lady that went to the grocery store and the apple was whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it in all of the Facebook groups right now. People are posting images of like eggs and their prices, so that they can compare it to like after all of these things get implemented. Just basically tracking the pricing. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. But so in 2018, they ran some numbers. The Peterson Institute for International Economics calculated that it was about $68.8 billion in additional costs for U.S. importers and consumers. So that's all extra costs that we're paying because of these tariffs.
And who's that money going to? The 68 billion or whatever.
I mean, Trump's argument is that this is how they're going to have revenue, that it's like increasing revenue for the U.S. because, I mean, we have like an incredible amount of debt. But I just don't see that playing out. Like, I really, actually, that's a great question for me to look into to see where exactly that it goes. Because,
well, if the countries that we're charging the tariffs to, and they're the ones that have to pay that, then technically if they raise their prices to cover that, I don't see how we're making any money from that. Like, you know, and you know that they're not just going to only like, let's say if it's $1 normally and then the tariff is like $2, they're not going to make the item now $2. They're going to make it $2.50, you know? So the other country will. I'm saying. I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but I just don't see how like that brings us money in our treasury account, U.S. Treasury.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I totally agree. I think these tariffs are stupid. I'm like, why are you doing this? I think it causes more harm than any good that it does.
And there was no plan. Like if one of the things that was brought to my attention, my aunt is working in Mexico right now. She's in Ensenada, and she's doing some work for the U.S., but it's for oil. And she's running all these like things, pipelines or whatever. Long story short, she was like, yeah, I found out that a lot of the American cars, the parts come from Mexico. Yes. And they're all the parts are, or those like manufacturing plants or whatever. They're all mostly on the border of like Texas and Arizona, on those little border towns. And so they basically get all the parts, the steel, all that stuff to make the car parts. And then they bring them across the border, and then we assemble them over here. Yeah. But it's all those little parts, right? And those are also going to get tariffed. So it's like, it can't be American made if it's not like all American made, you know? If you're literally just bringing like, basically we're just gluing the car together, but everything else is made over there. That's not really like the American made idea. So he should have had like prepared to have factories here already making that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And we have factories. Like I think there's a couple in Detroit, Michigan that they like decommissioned. And I remember there was talks of them bringing it back online and like actually doing, American made vehicles. The problem is that our infrastructure is just not set up for manufacturing and production.
They dismantled it so many decades ago at this point.
Yeah. And just like the global trade, like honestly, people just want cheap goods. Like we've been so trained to get things that are the least cost possible. So I think like from the beginning, like the industrialization, the global trade, all of that stuff, like we just got so used to things being so cheap because we were bringing it from other countries where, you know, we're removed from the labor policies and practices. We're removed from the OSHA, any kind of codes and regulations for production itself. Like we have very strict regulations and things here because like if we're not careful, I mean, look at climate change. Like
right, we just got a whiff of what happened to LA.
Yeah, like LA is literally on fire. So many businesses, homes, properties damaged, the lives lost, the count keeps increasing. Like we're going to see more people having illness from inhaling the air. Like all of this stuff kind of compounds. And so like when you think about manufacturing and production, I know a lot of businesses and people are like, well, there's too much red tape, but it's supposed to be red tape that protects us because we have to find some kind of balance where we can make these goods so that people can consume them and support the local economy, support the national economy, while also still leaving an earth for us to live on. Yeah. That we don't have to be so concerned about our backyard going on fire and losing our home.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Backyard going on fire. Yeah, I got chills with that one.
Yeah, it's so sad. And I'm like our families are being affected by it right now in LA. And I'm like, every year, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So, yeah, but going back to the tariffs, like another reason why I don't think they're a good idea is because it really affects our ability to negotiate and rely on other countries. So the global policies and like international affairs, all of that stuff now is at risk because like what we saw in the past in 2018, countries like Europe and China had retaliatory tariffs. So they're like, okay, you're going to impose tariffs on us. Right. Well, we're going to impose tariffs on you.
Mexico's planning to do that too to us this time around.
Yeah. And so things like that ended up affecting farmers, which for California, like we export so many agricultural goods. Yeah. So then those farmers ended up having to get subsidies from the government because they still needed to produce and do all of these things to carry the economy and to feed us. I do think we have some overproduction in our agriculture because it's industrialized, but that's another topic for another day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I can see some of the arguments to the benefits of tariffs, like to promote job security, increase jobs in here in America. And it did in 2018, like some of those countries, international countries, did come to the US and have manufacturing locations here. And it created some jobs, but then it wasn't enough to actually be like a considerable increase. And we also saw some job losses kind of like down the stream in other industries because it's very much a domino effect. It's not like you have a single card and you're only increasing tariffs on this thing. It's like, okay, well, you're increasing tariffs on this thing. Like what other industries does it affect? So it's just all correlated together. And they ran some numbers and they were looking at like, okay, we did have an increase in jobs, but what did that cost us? And
68 million. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah. In total, for sure, it costs us that 68.8 billion. But for like to move one job from like China or Mexico or whatever to stateside in the US cost us about $800,000 per job. Oh, wow. Yeah. So when you think about like the productivity of that one job, like, are they actually making enough to make it worth the $800,000 to have that job here?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it doesn't just happen in 4 years.
No.
It's not gonna, this isn't all gonna just magically AI come together and Trump snaps his fingers and there's an AI that just gets everything all together. Like, this is like, it's a long game.
It is.
And and it wasn't set up before he came into presidency already. This isn't stuff that's already been kind of sort of rolling. Like, no, he has to get that ball rolling. And how's that gonna work?
Yeah. And he says he's going to do it on his first day. And I'm like, well, okay. They don't know if they're just going to go balls to the wall and do like a 20%, 50% tariff, or if they're going to do like slow increases, kind of like they have with oh my gosh, why am I blanking on what's his name? Powell is reducing the interest rates like by whatever percentage, like 0.75, like to combat inflation.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's still here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think tariffs.
I didn't know that you could just like lower the interest rate.
Oh, dude,
just
it's like that. It's all a made up game.
Yeah, it is.
When we like, I talked to Chris about it, and we go through all of these things, and it's just so hard to understand because I'm like, well, it's just all made up. Like,
it's like the Wizard of Oz. There's the man behind the curtain.
Really? Yeah, that's what he is.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, one of the big reasons why I'm not for these tariffs is because like I don't think they do any good for us in terms of international politics, but also like my concern is that we will see a decrease in the number of small businesses because they won't be able to survive these tariffs. Yeah. Because like for us as coffee, like we import from other countries. We import from Brazil. Sometimes we'll import from Mexico. And if these are getting the increased tariffs, then that means the coffee is costing us more. We don't have the room to absorb those costs. Like coffee is very much a volume business. And so if we are to survive and continue thriving through this, then that means your cup of coffee is going to cost more. Right. So like something that you used to enjoy will, if we want to keep it the same quality, will definitely cost more. Otherwise, if we want to keep the same pricing, then we'll have to reduce our quality and not get as good coffee beans. And we could, but I don't want to. Like, yeah. It's just, and like,
it's just
even
not fair to the consumer either.
No, it's not. It's not fair. It's not fair to anyone. Like, I don't want to have to run my business and be like, well, I really want this quality, good coffee that is going to taste like notes of chocolate and molasses, but it's too much for us and too much for our consumers. So I'm really going to get this other coffee that doesn't taste really good, but maybe I can roast it just dark enough to the point where hey, you're just going to get French Robusta coffee that you're used to from World War II.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. A lot of, the quality is going to go down.
Yeah, I'm like, we're going to go from having specialty coffee to having like Folgers type quality.
Right.
Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, especially like, for example, coffee is one of the industries where, some people ethically source and like, they're getting their beans or whatever from, farms that also have their own ecosystem, right? And then now it's like people are going to have to question like, do I go to that farm and support this ethically sourced coffee and like that I know that also supports the community and all this other stuff, provides jobs, or do I get coffee that's like you said, not the best, doesn't really, support a whole actual community, things like that. It's like, I don't know, a robot made it or something, so it's like that's what also sucks. Like people have to like, maybe before they used to always get organic and now they're going to have to get like other types of quality, when it comes to like, for example, I get essential oils and I get the what is it called? The oil that you use to dilute the essential oil blends, and I always get organic. And now, I'm sure other people are gonna have to be like, if I can't afford to get that organic anymore. I have to get this because otherwise I have to add another, however much on top of the costs for what I, whatever, right? Yeah. So it's like, even just looking at it in that sense, like the quality of items, food, things that you really, want to use on the day, the quality is going to start to get really low.
Yeah. And like, it doesn't just hurt us here in the US, like with your example of like buying from farms that like our values are aligned with, like then those people are also hurt because then like the demand for their product will more than likely decrease and will reduce their capabilities on like actually surviving. And coffee, especially like coffee farmers and the harvesters, are already like so underpaid because like coffee is just not valued like how something like wine is. And so it's already like these farmers are not making a ton of money. And so now you're adding on all these tariffs. So not only are we going to be feeling it more in our wallets here in the US, but you're also impacting these farmers and their livelihood in Mexico and Brazil, wherever it is, in Ethiopia. Everyone loves Ethiopia coffee. Like maybe we just won't see that anymore. Like I'm not really sure what we're going to take in terms of like combating these tariffs. And then also like it goes much further beyond that. Like our packaging would come from China because it was like the cheapest thing for us to get. And of course we would get sustainable products. But now I'm like, okay, if China's going to get these tariffs and stuff, so then what other countries can I get it from? Because usually the ones here in the US are too expensive for us as a micro roaster. And so we have to get it from outside countries. And it just adds all kinds of logistics and like trying to fight these things. And if we want to continue with what we have already, it's going to increase our pricing of our coffee bags. So there's just like, it's like I said, it's just a domino effect of all of this stuff. And when we're adding on these tariffs that then get passed on to the consumers, you're also reducing disposable income. So people will not be spending as much money outside of the home, which, sure, maybe that's a great thing. I'm glad people are saving money, whatever. But when you think about like the local economy and what we need to support it, we need those funds moving for all of the different programs that we have, from like roads and rails to like social justice, social issue programs, like all of these things. But people are not going to be spending as much money because they won't be able to afford it. Right. So I feel that like it's just really going to ruin our economy. But what do I know? I'm not an economist.
Yeah. This is just all conversation.
Yeah.
And I think the point is, us just, it's we're all here. We all don't know. We're all literally like, I don't know, scratching our head how is this going to work out. And that's fine to have questions, you know, because this is our country too. Like we live here. We're the one that have to pay it. We don't have billions of dollars, like the elite status that he's giving all these tax breaks to. So it's like, yeah, we should be able and allowed to ask questions, but there's no plan right now. Yeah. Even if you TikTok it, nobody's even broke it down. TikTok University or YouTube University, it's like nobody knows. We're all just waiting until January 20th, 21st to figure it out. Because it might even be later because I know he's having like 3 balls going on.
Oh, gosh.
So, you know.
And like, even speaking about taxes, like these tax breaks, like, sure, maybe the tariffs won't have as much of an impact on consumers because we'll all be getting a tax break. But when you look at the actual like tax breaks by class, by like income breaks, you see like the lower class and like lower middle class, actually even I think broader middle class. I forgot who made the chart. But they showed like lower class and middle class will pay more, even with our tax breaks. Yeah. And the elite, the top percent will be getting money back by like the tunes of like, I think it was like in the 20s or 30,000s or something like that. And I'm like,
oh, I remember. Oh yeah, it was like 35,000.
Yes.
And then the lower bracket or the lower income gets like $1,500 tax credit. Ooh.
Yeah. Wow. Exactly. I'm like, wow, okay.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And so like we already have an increasing gap between the lower middle class and like the top class, the elite 1%. And now adding on these, I think is just going to exacerbate that and probably get rid of the middle class. Like we're just all going to be poor. And then you're just either going to be a billionaire or not.
Yeah. And it sucks too because the United States is so looked. We have all eyes on us in other worlds, in other countries, other worlds. Yeah, that too. Aliens are looking at us, but in other countries. So we do set, and I've had very interesting conversations with people who are not from the United States. You know, from family that's from Mexico. I've had a conversation with somebody that is from Italy, and just hearing their like insights on like what we do and how it really does affect the rest of the world and how we set that tone, and also how other countries are looking at us like, well, I don't know that I can follow the United States anymore. And people are losing that like, ooh, you know, America, wow, you know, and we're losing that pizzazz. And even I think our own people are like, yeah, I mean, Richard Gere moved. Richard Gere moved to Spain. Woo, that was in the news.
I mean, yeah, we have like all these people, they're moving to like Portugal, they're moving to Costa Rica, they're moving to Puerto Rico. Like they're all moving outside. I mean, Puerto Rico, I know, is like owned U.S. territorial islands. I mean, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, like it's crazy. And I think like there's just no way that, at least I don't see a way of us doing these tariffs and not harming our relationships with other countries. So like, heaven forbid something should happen where we need to I mean, look at the fires in LA. Like Mexico and Canada sent firefighters.
And South Africa.
And South Africa.
Too. Yeah, they came and they sent their firemen and you know, I don't know, troops or whatever to help us out. So that was like, I saw that and I was just like, wow, this is so beautiful. And here our president, who's supposed to represent our country, isn't even thankful for that. He don't care. He's expressed how he don't care about California, but yet we make up most of the economy for the United States. Yeah. So, you should start caring. Just saying.
Maybe California should secede from everything. Just kidding. Don't. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. But you know, I'm scared there might be war that happens, and I don't want to live in that lifetime.
Oh, I know. Same. That's funny talking about war. I had told Chris that I was like, I think we're going to see a world war in our lifetime. So I'm hoping that doesn't come true, but.
And me too. Like, I have a very bad feeling.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And I just don't think I don't think these tariffs help that, like in a time where literally not just the global economy, but like the world is feeling the aftermath of the pandemic. Like everyone's hurting. It ruined everyone's economy. Like, populations have dwindled drastically. And in so many countries, like, people weren't having kids already. So, like, it's just exacerbating that problem. And yeah, maybe AI and robotics will help. But for right now, it's not. And we're all feeling still the aftermath of the pandemic, from PTSD, whatever, from like these inflations. Yeah. And then to add this on, and I think it's just like it shakes up everything. And it's like, I mean, I saw a video, this politician in Canada had a proposal to combat the tariffs that Trump is saying he's going to impose on Canada. And their take was like, Trump is a bully and is not someone to be reasoned with because he's just not a rational person. So therefore, we need to just bring the hammer down. And the only way to fight with the bully is just to take the strong arm and do it. Yeah. And like, I mean, that's our neighboring country. Like, I think we should be concerned. And Mexico is our neighboring country.
Oh yeah, he pissed off he pissed her off, the president.
Oh, I know, I saw.
Talking about how to rename the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, and then they pulled out this lovely map from like the 1600s or something, and it said America, what is it? America, Mexico, something or something.
And you know what? Mexico didn't even name it.
No.
We did not name the Gulf. I mean, I say we because my ancestors, But yeah, I'm like, boy, bye.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, imposing these tariffs also is just going to push these countries to focus elsewhere. So
on China.
Yeah. And
you're trying to like not support China. Right? Trump's like, his whole theory is like, let's bring everybody to the United States. But guess where they're going to go to? Mm-hmm. Just like everybody wants to pack their bags right now and move to China because TikTok's banned.
Oh my
They're going to be banned on the 19th. So it's like, yeah, like I don't know if this is doing us any favors, but we'll see.
No, I think like I know that
maybe my crystal ball's foggy, but
I hope so. I hope that's the case because like, yeah, they're saying that this is like America first policies, but I don't think that. I really just think that what this is going to do is this going to shake up the global order, and U.S. will no longer be the lead.
Yeah, and then that's when it's a little scary for us. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that I was thinking about, if you just look at basic history, the industrial revolution happened in the like early 1900s. And then that's when we started making, metal steel. We started making our cars and all of our own stuff. Everything was like mostly American made at that time. It was like the AI of that era, right? And then everything was good and gravy. And then, World War happened, World War II happened, and so we started making more things home, to support the war. Once the war ended, then I was like, oh, we have all these things. Well, what can we make out of it? And so we created more jobs after all that. And then the 50s came around, and everything was like the golden era, right? And I think that's what Trump's trying to say. Like, he wants to go back to the decade that he was born in. Actually, he was born in the 40s, but he's going to remember the 50s because that was his youthful years, right? And that's when, if we looked back, like, yeah, the economy wasn't bad, and we had all of our cars were, American made, and they were good quality and all this stuff. But then that went away, around, I think, the 70s. And then we started to import from different countries like China, Japan, Russia, India, Mexico. So all of these jobs dispersed, and that's why you saw Detroit turn into like a freaking desert, and all these great cities that existed where all these manufacturing companies were that were part of that industrial revolution and part of that golden era, they got shut down because the presidents at that time thought that they were doing us all a favor and wanted to get items cheaper. And so they wanted to tap into that free trade, right? That we've always had. We've always had free trade, and now he's trying to wrap that up and change it into something different. And the difference is, though, that all worked in the 50s because it took like, maybe 2 decades to put that all together and to have the wheels churning on all that, on all these things being American made. But then another president came in and wiped it all out, or however that happened. And then now we're trying to go right back to that, but there's nothing here. Like, there's nothing, even our, like, avocados. Hi, do we have any avocado groves that are, sorry, I'm getting back to my avocado, but it's like, like we import a lot of our food from Mexico. So even our food prices are going to go up like crazy. We import these little small things from different countries. So it doesn't make sense to just literally slam the United States up against the wall without a slower transition into something. And I do like that idea of like, oh yeah, being proud of the cars, like American made and all the things, right? Because we're providing for jobs for our people. But that all needs to take time. It needs decades, and we need to have a smart plan for it. And I don't see the key word is smart. I don't see a smart plan to all this.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. I think that's a perfect segue to like wrap up this conversation. Like, yeah. So going back to like everything that we said, like key arguments against the tariffs, they disproportionately hurt small businesses and consumers because like large corporations just have more negotiating power because they just have more market share. Yeah. They have higher volumes. They fail to stimulate meaningful domestic production in niche industries in the US. We just don't have the infrastructure there. Like you said, we should have been setting, like he probably should set this up in like the first 2 years. We're going to be building these manufacturing places, these factories, and the last 2 years, everything's going to be made here and we'll impose these tariffs. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that would be a much better approach. They harm international partnerships. So for like us in industries like coffee, even like in 2018, it affected washing machines. So like there's just all of these things that are going to get affected and increase our costs, increase prices to consumers, harm our relationships or partnerships with people internationally, globally. So some things that we can do to help combat that is obviously like making our voices heard like this. Right. And I think for small businesses, I know it's really hard, but I truly believe that we need to educate our consumers, our clients, our guests, because people don't generally understand what tariffs are or even the reasons behind them, what the end goal is and what they actually do. They're just like, yeah, go against China, go against Brazil, Mexico, whatever, but not realizing the aftermath that comes with it. Mm-hmm. So I think educating our clients, contacting your representatives and explaining how these policies affect your business, contacting your local representatives, your like congresswoman, congressman, so that they can run it up the chain. And because if we all collectively make our voices heard and be like, hey, we don't want this, stop messing with us. Like they are responsible for the people, their constituents, which is us. We are their bosses, essentially.
True. We do have that power. Yeah. That's a good way to frame it.
Yeah.
That's that dollar that you got and that voice.
Yes. Vote with your dollar. Definitely now more than anything, support small businesses by shopping local and being understanding of price increases. No one loves them. We don't want to do it. It's just the cost of the market. We're being strong-armed into doing these things. And then stay informed about trade policies and local impacts because, we'll see how this goes for us as a small business in 2025. But yeah, I'm holding my breath.
Yeah, me too. I would like to say that if you're one of those people, because, a lot of the Trump, one of the reasons why I guess he persuaded, or however it was, captured people's votes was through social media. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're really good at breaking down information and breaking it down to tangible bite-sized bits of information on social media, and you're really good at that, I think that this would be a great time for you to make content so that the younger generation behind my generation, I'm a millennial, you are a millennial too. So the Gen Zs and then the Gen Alphas and all the others in between can understand that information, because sometimes, that's where they're at. they're not watching news. They're not getting a newspaper. Newspapers don't even exist anymore, you know? So it's like making content that is informative, that is educational, that also is, you know, tangible for somebody who's in their, you know, getting out of high school and coming into this, you know, job era, right? Or they're this part of their life where now they're an adult, you know, and they have in the voting right to make decisions. I think that we lacked content like that. And it was so broad in the sense like, you know, a lot of people didn't know like what decisions to make and how to make them because they didn't fully understand the context of like even tariffs. So I think if you're really good at like educating people in that way and really good at using your voice and using your platform, doing some educational work around that, that supports the community and that supports the generation that's behind us that isn't used to reading newspapers and researching and doing all the things, you know? And so we need to think outside the box and how we get this information to people, which his whole campaign did do that, and they clearly succeeded. Yeah. And then I think the other thing that was just crossing my mind is that I'm wondering, because I don't know how many homes were lost in the LA fires. A lot. I know that. It was in the thousands, in multiple thousands, right? So I'm wondering, what do we need to rebuild? And people are going to need to be rebuilding like tomorrow, right? So what do we need? We need wood. We need drywall. We need goods. Guess where we get those goods from? Not here. Not here. Trees? What? We don't have trees here in California. So, and you know, like so even just thinking in like that, as we move forward into like these disasters that we're having, like Florida, the other coast just went through the horrific hurricanes that they had. Not that like 6 months ago, like every coast is having a full on natural disaster type situation where it's not even earthquakes, right? It's like weather, you know, literally weather is destroying our communities and our cities. But the bigger thing is it's destroying. So we have to recreate, we have to rebuild. Well, where do we get those items from? We used to get them from other countries, imports. So now all the people that have to rebuild and restructure, you know, now it's going to cost even more than what it did before. And the insurances are already trying not to pay for all of that. So it's like literally we had this disaster literally happen on the heels of this whole thing of like tariffs and this new presidency coming in who hates California. Or I don't want to say the word hates. I can't speak for you, Trump, but it seems that my personal opinion is that you don't like California. So, you know, there's just some things to consider and think about as we go forward. And, you know, I don't think he's the biggest supporter of climate change and climate awareness and thinking about these things. And, you know, he blamed something on Gavin Newsom who had nothing to do with whatever he was blaming him on. So it's like, stop pointing the fingers at everybody, because now you have, you know, 4 other fingers pointing back at you. And now we're the ones that are going to be looking at you like, okay, you're going to raise all these tariffs, but what about all these other things that need your attention, that need support, that need help? You have the earth literally screaming at you. And what is that? Like, what is that going to look like? So there's so many questions that I have that I'm really getting real frustrated with, that it's like, I already had a hard time swallowing this pill of our new presidency or president coming in. But now I'm having it. It's not making the medicine go down.
No,
any easier.
Even more pissed
Because I don't see like the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm a very objective person. I'm a person who's very like, okay, like if I don't understand something, well, let me give it time, and okay, you know, let me weigh the scales. But I'm like, yeah, I can't even see that. I can't see anything anymore. I'm like literally feeling like the more and more as we get closer to it, the more and more I'm getting less and less hopeless. And that day, January 20th, is my daughter's birthday, who had passed away. And I'm like, great. And I remember the last inauguration that happened when Biden came into presidency, and we were still during the pandemic, and her birthday happened to land on that day too. And I remember being so happy, like, this is a shitty day, you know, but then I was like, but this is great to watch, because I feel like, you know, at least we got rid of that.
Yeah, we had hope.
Had hope. It gave me some hope. We're now on a day where I already feel like all in my emo, and then now feeling like that there's also that to metabolize. I just want to like not even get up that day. but I'm dry January, so I'm not trying to take any narcotics or any drugs. So I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna drink a cup of cacao. There we go. A cup of cacao and warm my heart chakra and just, you know, do my cross and hope that something in 2025 is something that I can understand and see a bright light at something, a peak of a light. I don't know.
Yeah. And I know like we just threw like a ton of negative information out there, and it's not easy to swallow. Like it could, I mean, like I could very much just sit in this feeling of helplessness and be like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Life is going to suck, blah, blah, blah. But there are things that we can do about it. And, you know, changing your consumer behaviors. So maybe like homesteading is a really big thing right now. And I can understand why for many, many reasons. Supporting local farms that have regenerative practices. So, you know, putting back nutrients into the soil so that we have healthy foods. Depending on our neighbors, on our community to help each other out in those instances where sometimes people just can't afford food for whatever reason.
Start making sourdough bread.
Right? Pass on your starters.
Make your own bread.
Starters,
cost
everything.
you like 50 cents. Seriously though.
Yeah.
We're going to see a boom in like that. And I mean, maybe that is part of the little light at the end of the tunnel. People starting to, you know, get a little more back into the kitchen, back into those old school type ways. But, you know, we shall see.
I mean, in our last episode, we talked about like entering the Aquarian age of like communities and stuff. So maybe this is that. Maybe we just depend more on each other, on our communities to help us as a collective get through this.
Yeah. Community gardening, sharing your scobies from kombucha and sourdough starters. And that does sound nice. I like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're all going to be forced to do all that.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
sometimes it's a wake-up call.
It is. We're all going to go through it together. But I do want to leave us with this little tidbit is that as we go forward and we share information, you also listen to other people's information. And, you know, we're all just, you know, having conversations and just be nice to other people, you know, when they're trying to break political things down. I hate seeing when, you know, people leave mean comments on something like that somebody took the time to maybe research or, you know, I think what would be helpful is that if you hear this and you know some facts and some more information that we've shared light on, then just kindly leave it in the comments and, you know, that way, or email us and we can share about it. But I think what I get tired of seeing too is like people trying to bring awareness, but then now people are scared to speak up because it's not fact checked appropriately or whatever, which you should be fact checking your stuff anyway. But it's like, I'm so over the terrorizing of people who are on social media, just trying to make a change. And then they say one thing and then it's just like
all the trolls come out.
Yeah.
The
Karens. I didn't say that.
We're open to discussion, to healthy conversation.
Yes.
Backed by facts and reputable sources and data. I mean, if we're wrong on something, you feel different, tell us. We want to know. Like, it's not, I mean, obviously, like even the Trump administration and other economists, everyone's torn, whether it's a pro, whether it's a con, they don't know. But I mean, we're allowed to have our opinions and see things, how they're going to actually affect us and what we can do about it. And if you have another take, share it.
Yeah. That's the point of us having a freedom of speech, living in America, right? All right. Well, that was heavy.
Yeah. That was definitely heavy. So maybe
Sage
go
myself.
for a walk. Yeah. Sage yourself, sage your home, light a candle, some good feelings, maybe put a bath together for yourself. Definitely some self-care items. Yeah. Anything else they can do?
We can leave you with the ritual. A ritual. How about this? We're in January. We are before Trump came into office. So we are, I don't know, what's the date today? January?
Today is the 15th.
January 15th. Okay. I would say a good ritual is just to close your eyes and hope that the future, the next 4 years, that you have the strength within yourself, and only you know what that is, to empower yourself, support the community, and what do you need to make that happen? And so it's all about like literally like taking that moment in time, 5 minutes, and imagining like, if I'm not happy in the world that we're in, maybe it's 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, what can I do to change that? And then like, we just need time and space. So I feel like a nice ritual would be like, get in a bath, sit down, close your eyes, and like channel your inner like powerhouse. Because if you don't know your inner powerhouse, then when shit hits the fan, it's like, you don't know how to tap into that. But if you have already that awareness of it and like what it is that you're really passionate about, then, but allowing yourself to just like close your eyes, go within and say, hey, these are the things, these are my values, these are my visions in the next 4 years. And when opposite of that happens, this is when I need to get out it could be like your power animal, it could be like your alter ego, or it could just be yourself, right? And allowing that to come up. And what does that look like? So like for me, it looks like, really sitting down in my bath and like having the water run and just having some like nice sound healing music playing in the background and just imagining like what I want in the next 4 years out of my life. And then if something comes in that way and blocks it, then what am I going to do? What action would I take? And I think if we can allow ourselves to prepare our mind, but we're in a parasympathetic state already, then when we're in that state of fight or flight, our brain will remember that time that you were in the bathtub listening to your heart chakra sound ball music and having the water run, whatever that looks like, right? You can go back to that space and pick up from that moment and bring that into the future. So you're going to be like almost like doing what's that when you do something in the past and then you think your future self, something like that. I don't know, I'm getting it backwards.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now.
Well, like, you kind of get what I mean. So yeah, I think just giving yourself that space and time to go there.
Yeah. And when you're thinking about what you can do for yourself, for your community, it doesn't need to be the whole world. Like that could cause you even more overwhelm and anxiety. So what can you do in your little corner to help yourself, to help your community, the people around you?
Yeah. Learn sourdough.
Yep.
Simple.
So on that note, we'll see you guys next time with a lighter topic.
Yes, we promise.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.